Okay. All right, but I know you told me you were called in to find this in Japan, weren't you?
Yes, they Tokyo Broadcasting Systems chose a male psychic and a female psychic. They went nationwide searching.
Yeah.
And I got chosen, and another male psychic by the name of Jim Watson was chosen.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't tell us what it was about.
Would they just go on your background when they were picking?
No, I got flown into New York where they tested me.
Oh, okay.
And apparently I passed all their tests.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we weren't told what the filming was about. And then they flew us to Japan, and first thing they did was take us to a cemetery.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, find the man that is buried in this cemetery that had something to do with the burying of a treasure. Period. That was it.
Yeah, and you had a whole cemetery to pick from.
Yeah, I got the whole cemetery. So I'm going, how in the world am I going to do this?
Did they do you separately or together?
They did us together.
Okay.
So Jim and I are walking down, and all of a sudden I see a monk, and he's standing over a tombstone, one of the grave sites.
Yeah.
And he looks at me, and he looks at the grave site. So I called the film crew over, and I said, this is the man that was involved with the burying of the treasure. Now, mind you, I don't know what the treasure is.
Yeah.
They don't tell me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it turns out he is. He was.
It was the right place.
It was the right grave.
Yeah.
So they got all excited over that. So they took me to a different cemetery, and they said, now go do the same thing.
But did the man with you, did he find anything?
No.
He didn't get any impressions?
No.
Okay.
And I probably wouldn't have either, except for the monk that appeared and showed me the grave.
And you said sometimes you do have that happen, don't you, with an entity will appear?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then they took you to another cemetery?
Yes. And we did the same thing. And again, the monk appeared and showed me the tombstone, or the grave.
Yeah.
And it went from there. Anything that I did, it was like everything I touched turned to gold. I could do no wrong. Okay? So finally, they took us, the night before, they were going to take us to the property where they suspected that maybe the buried treasure was. And I told them, I said, this treasure has a blood curse on it.
Oh.
And that this treasure is very dangerous. Well, the night before I went to the property, this symbol appeared on my arm, which represents Holy of Holies for the Japanese.
Yeah.
And it raised up. And the next day we went to the property, and Jim Watson got attacked, psychically attacked.
Oh.
On the property.
Well, did they know there was some kind of a curse, or before they called you in?
They most definitely did.
So they knew this beforehand?
Yes, they did.
Oh. So he was psychically attacked?
Yes. And I was told the night before what to do when I got to the property. I was to go to a temple on the property itself that was dedicated to the white fox, and that I was to do prayers at the white fox. Before you went out to the place where the treasure was supposed to be? Correct. Yeah. So Jim was with me, and he was violently shaking, and he was in a great deal of pain. So I did what I needed to do at the temple, and then I did lifting of curses, spells, conjurations, etc., off of Jim. Yeah. And he cleared. And they took photographs as I did this. Yeah. And you could see this black energy starting at the bottom and each picture, the black energy moves upwards until it completely clears out the top of the picture.
Oh. Well, what did he think later about any of that?
Scared him to death.
Oh.
Absolutely scared him to death. And after that, I was supposed to take 2 little statuettes of the white foxes that were strewn around as offerings, which I still have. And then I started getting information about the treasure. And that.
Did you think you weren't attacked because you went to the temple first?
That's right.
Did what they told you to do?
That's right.
So that way they would leave you alone then?
Yes.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, after that attack, they then told me that this was the Shogun treasure. It was $2.5 billion worth of gold.
Wow.
And that 40 psychics that have tried to come onto the same property and find the treasure either died or were crippled or have lost all of their gifts. And I was like, well, thanks, guys. I appreciate the knowledge.
Yeah, tell me after the fact, you know.
Exactly.
That's why they wanted to do it, but they weren't going to tell you anything about the dangers with it.
That's right.
And that's not very good.
Well, I think they call it television.
Yeah, but they weren't caring much about the people involved.
No, it's called television.
But you said it was gold. Was it gold jewelry or coins or what?
No, these were huge gold coins. They were about 12 inches long.
So what did they do? Dig it up and show it to you then, or what?
No, we had to find the location of where they buried it.
Okay, so you sound like you did see it, but you had to find the location first.
Well, I found the location, but I got a severe warning. The warning was if you find the treasure itself, it would bring into effect a great disaster. And I told them the information that I got.
You mean a personal disaster or a national disaster?
No, a huge disaster. And I'll explain what that turned out to be.
Yeah.
So I told them where to dig, and as they dig, they started finding tunnels.
Oh.
And they found symbols of the Shogun, weaponry, knives, swords, all sorts of china from the Shogun time frame. So they knew they were in the right location. And basically, this is a real short version of it because
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You told me bits and pieces before, but I never heard all of it.
Oh, this is only a fragment.
Okay.
But when they finally hit the location of the treasure itself, there was a huge, and I wasn't there for that because I just went there, just did the filming and left.
Yeah.
There was a gigantic, huge earthquake.
A huge what?
Earthquake.
Oh. You think that's what the warning was? There would be some kind of a natural disaster then.
Yeah. And it filled in everything.
Oh.
And that was
tunnels
the
and everything.
That was the epicenter of the earthquake.
It makes you wonder, was that part? Must have been part of the curse then.
I think it was.
That was a powerful curse. If
well,
it
the
could
men
do
that
that,
were digging,
even call in the forces of nature.
Well, that's what the curse was based on.
Yeah.
It was Shinto magic.
So, in the beginning, they definitely didn't want anybody to find this. That's why they put such a powerful curse on it.
500 people committed suicide in this location trying to find the treasure. I take that back. 80 people committed suicide. 500 warriors allowed themselves to be killed in order to protect the treasure. So they started finding their bodies.
As they were digging?
Yes.
So they definitely didn't want anyone to ever find this.
No. No, they didn't.
But you weren't there then when that part happened.
No, thank God.
Well, was this made into a documentary then?
It definitely was. There's like 2 parts of the documentary. It was a very powerful experience. And I have the copies of it. There's only one problem. It's all done in Japanese.
Oh. That would have been good if it could have been translated, but I guess it was mostly dealing with Japan anyway.
It was. It was.
But this way, you didn't actually see the treasure then, did you?
No, and I didn't want to.
You didn't want to go any further with it?
Well, the men that went in to dig out those tunnels, they all lost their minds. They got what's known as gold fever.
What's that?
They start pulling their hair out and ranting and raving and digging with their bare hands. I've never seen anything like it. They had to call in a Shinto priest, which was Mr. June, and he had to depossess them.
Whatever was happening then?
It was from the curse.
So do you know if they ever did find the treasure?
You know, I don't know.
Because, I mean, the earthquake had filled all the tunnels in.
It filled everything in.
So I guess it was definitely not going to let them go any further.
I don't think so. I warned them. I said, you can dig in the tunnels, but when you hit that treasure, it's going to become extremely dangerous. And it was when they started to hit into that treasure that the earthquake happened.
Into the room where it was then?
Yes, chamber.
You know, we always think that maybe curses aren't real.
Yeah.
They always talk about the ones in Egypt and everything, but that sure sounds like that was a powerful one.
It was real. I never believed in curses in my entire experience in my life. Believe me, after this one, I believed in it.
Well, you know, they had a lot of powers back then that we don't understand.
Well, the Shinto call into effect all of nature, and they don't really bind them. They seduce them into helping them.
The spirits of nature, you mean?
Yeah, and they turn them into gods. That's the seduction.
Yeah.
And so they pervert these natural forces into helping and assisting them. I know that sounds really strange, but...
Well, you know, with my work, I believe anything's possible now. Because my books, The Convoluted Universe, are going into stranger and stranger ideas. So I think it is possible, but it is also dangerous for the person doing it because to try to control nature, you know, that it can come back on them.
It goes against God.
Yeah, that's what it says in one of my books. You're going against the laws of nature. You can't do that.
Not without consequences.
But still, it placed a powerful enough thing around it, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Because I know I found in, you know, my work, you know, I showed you with the Nostradamus material, and it was in your work in Egypt with the tunnels under the Sphinx.
Yeah.
And in the books, the Nostradamus books, it talked about a huge force field that had been put around those areas to protect them.
That was true.
So I think it's the same idea, isn't it?
Yes.
More like a force field was put over the treasure the same way it's been put over these things in Egypt.
Well, I'll tell you what, it sure messed with the cameras. There was strong electromagnetic energy there.
In Japan or in Egypt?
In both.
Both places.
Yeah. And what I've learned is that psychic abilities phenomena is based in electromagnetic energy.
Yeah, everything is energy anyway.
You bet.
But I know when my work, a lot of times strange things will happen with the tape recorders and anything electronic that's being used in the room. But and I have heard about even in Eureka Springs, you know, they went up there, the net used to be empty, and they were taking film for it, you know, for a documentary.